Here we go. All right, welcome to another episode of Ascension with A Course in Miracles. Today is Wednesday, December the 14th. We are fast approaching the completion of the year 2022 and preparing to launch into 2023. What is going to be absolutely amazing about this completion in the beginning of 2023 is that we are in the middle of, well, not in the middle, we are at the tail end of this long pregnancy that we have had, and we've been pregnant with the anticipation of the resurrection for humanity, the being born again, the birth of the new earth. We've been pregnant with all of the discomfort of carrying the truth inside of us, but it not being out there for the whole world to see. So many of us that have been on this journey for a while, we have been doing the work to prepare us for the delivery of the newborn child, if you want to call it. This is almost like an amazing birthing of actually, I'm going to call it the return of the Christ, because it is time for the second coming, and we are it. Every one of us that comes to the teachings of A Course in Miracles and any other teachings that lead us to the truth. Course in Miracles, in its introduction, says that it is a required force. Not meaning that it is the only way for us to receive information. It is a way for us to receive truth. It is one of the paths, but every path that speaks truth leads us all to the recognition that inside each and every one of us is the Christ. Meaning, as some of us have studied in A Course of Love, which is a follow-up to A Course in Miracles, the Christ consciousness is the knowledge, the awareness, the acceptance of who we really are. We are expressions of the divine, meaning the divine is in us. That makes us and the Father, Mother, God one. There cannot be any other way except for us to be the individualized expression of God. Jesus, when he walked this planet 2,000 years ago, knew that. That's why he became known as the Christ. But there have been many who have walked this planet and have achieved that level of awareness and walked upon this planet awake, teaching the truth by living it. So we are in the process of a mass awakening of beings that are extending consciously. That's the thing about enlightenment. Enlightenment is, you are the light. As the Course in Miracles teaches us, I am the light of the world. And when you can say that without a doubt, when you can say that with the certainty that what you are is the presence of love itself, and you walk upon this planet embodying the characteristics that we have studied in the manual for teachers in A Course in Miracles, and you embody the characteristics of trusting the truth that comes from within you. You're not trusting external authority. You have come back. You have returned to the inner authority, which is God within us. And you can call it source, you can call it spirit, great creator. It doesn't matter what we call it, but you trust that source. It is loving, meaning you become loving. It is totally joyful, meaning you are the expression of joy. You begin to be open-minded because you understand, hey, God is expressing through all beings in lots of different ways. It expresses through some as rocks, through some as dolphins, through some as blades of grass, through some as you and me. Once you understand everything is an expression of God, then all that is left to do is to be tolerant with all beings, meaning don't judge them, but use discernment, because either they know that and live as that, which they're going to be easy to get along with, or they don't remember that and are calling for you to remind them of what they are through the way that you treat them. That is where we get our lessons. Can you treat those who are the hardest to get along with with love, with kindness, with gentleness, with open-mindedness, with generosity? Can you be generous with the one who is not being generous with you? So that is what we are in the process of birthing. 2023 is the year of the birth. Those of you, and I know several of you here, I don't know iPhone 4, but those of you who have given birth to children, you know, leading up to the birth and having that baby in your arms where you are so in love with this being that you have carried for all these months, you know that when you have that child in your arms, it's like you forget about all the pain that led up to that moment. I know I did. That's why we keep having other kids, because if we remember the pain, we wouldn't move past one child. But the birthing process itself is uncomfortable. It exposes the darkness. You got to open up your legs, and the doctors are seeing things that have been hidden from just about everybody for most of our lives. So we have to go in there in that cavity and bring that child out of the darkness that it's been inside of. We are resurrecting the child, the innocence of humanity, by having to go into the darkness and recognize that it is no longer acceptable to operate in the ignorance that says that darkness is okay. And it is no longer acceptable to operate in the arrogance that says, well, I only want to look at the light. I don't want to look at the darkness, because it is arrogant to not shine our light on the darkness. And it is ignorance to not recognize that our light is what lets go of the darkness. When you turn the light on in a dark room, the darkness goes away. We don't have to beat the darkness. We don't have to yell at the darkness. You just turn on the light. And we are the bringers of that light. So when you turn on your light and you love all that is, you can begin to see what is loving and what is calling for love. It becomes super, super clear that those are the only two options available to us. Be the love that you are. And when you are the love that you are consistently bringing love wherever you go. And you can easily see those who are calling for love because they're hurting, they're scared, they're angry, they're living inside of conditioned beliefs that are not true. So they are requiring the gentleness that comes with love and kindness and compassion, and the clarity, the awareness that we've been there, done that. Where they are, where somebody is that is hurting, if you have been in that space, our work is to help them understand how we will not understand. Our work is to share how we came out of that stage. How did we move through our divorce? How did we move through the death of a child? How did we move through bankruptcy? How did we move through ending a relationship? How did we move through a breakup with a really good friend? How did we move through being fired from a job? How did we move through cancer? When we can share how we move through those things, not with ego drama, but with the peace of God within us. When we explain how we chose to take every bit of adversity and use it as an opportunity to be the light of the world, how we knew that we were entitled to the miracles, and that's how we got through what we got through. When we can begin to share the steps that allowed us to move through our own dark experiences in this world, we, like Jesus said, can say, I am the way, I am the life, because I've connected to my eternal truth. If I recognize that I'm eternal, then I am the life. Yes, in this world, we are in it, but not of it. So we are going to experience birth and death, and that's part of the journey in human form. But we are the eternal life that doesn't have to sweat the small stuff, because we know that we are eternal. And as Abraham says, those who follow the teachings of Abraham Hicks, you cannot get it done because we're eternal. One lifetime is not enough to get it done. And you cannot get it wrong because You are eternal. And there's always more expansion. There's always opportunities for more. And of course, as Jesus said, I am the life, I am the way, I am the truth, because as the Course in Miracles teaches us, there is only one way to connect with God within, and that's to come inside and get to know the two voices that we have. The voice of the ego, that's what we're transcending. Those are the layers of the onions that we're peeling. We're moving through all of the years of conditioning, of beliefs that we were given from people we trusted, mothers, fathers, teachers, preachers, grandparents, uncles, favorite aunts taught us things that were not true because they learned those things that were not true. They were ignorant of those truths, but they were arrogant because they said that was the truth. And the only way to be ignorant and arrogant is because we operate in fear. We operate from ego. So today we're going to continue the reading. This is from A Course in Miracles, lesson 186. So the last couple of times that we've been gathering here on Wednesdays, let me get my little thing here to prop up my book, makes it easier for me to read. So the last couple of weeks, we've been going through lesson 186. As you all know, it's not easy to get through these lessons because we don't rush through them here. And the reason I absolutely love offering these transmissions is because when two or more are gathered, I experience this total activation of the presence of the Christ. I can accept that it's my Christ consciousness. It used to be that I would say, okay, this is Jesus talking through me, but we are all one, so I don't need to say anybody else is doing anything through me, because then there'd be two of us here. So this is the activation of my Christ consciousness, and it gets activated when two or more gather. That's why I am so grateful that you come and receive these transmissions, because in your receiving them is the completing of a circuit where I get to give. So I give and you receive, and in that you give me your time and attention, and I receive the gift of the transmission myself. So lesson 186, the title of it is Salvation of the World Depends on Me. The first sentence says, here is the statement that will one day take all arrogance away from every mind. When we accept our role, when we accept fully that we are absolutely that which saves the world, because it begins with me. We are the change we want to see in the world. We have to save ourselves from the insanity of our own mind. This is why this work, nobody can do it for us, because nobody can get in your head and make you change your mind. Yes, we have been indoctrinated and programmed with all kinds of lies, like God is outside of us and on a cloud somewhere. Well, we had to change our mind about that. And many of you know how that took a while. It's not easy to change our mind about the truth that others taught us, that we believed and thought was true. So we've got to move through the arrogance that we know the truth when we actually only know a lie. We believed the lie because they were taught to us by people that we loved or by people that scared the crap out of us. So we agreed to that being the truth because we didn't want to get in trouble. So here is a statement that will one day take all arrogance away from every mind. We need to become humble to accept that the salvation of the world depends on me. Because when I change my mind about the world, what do? We walk around being love or noticing where love is being called for. We don't walk around judging, because you know that that's not being in alignment with the truth of who we are. You know that if we're walking around lying, then we are being ignorant of the truth. And once you understand the game of ignorance and arrogance, you don't want to play it, because it's two sides of the same coin. Ignorance of the truth and then arrogance that you're righteous about the lie go hand in hand. There has to be a willingness to question what we believe until we come to the place inside that it lands and it becomes our truth. But it has to be ours. It cannot be grandma's. So we've got to get really clear that the way the world is saved, because And what this means, saved, means that they are spared our arrogance, they're spared our lies, they are spared our judgments, because we cannot be judging anybody out there once we discover God inside and realize, my gosh, God is love, pure love. Love cannot judge. Love only loves. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't use discernment in the world of people who have forgotten the truth. Until everybody's in the fifth dimension operating from love, we don't even have to think. You don't have to use discernment. Everybody will be operating at that highest frequency. You don't need discernment. But we use discernment to get out of the indoctrination that we have been under. We have to use discernment by taking what was told to us, feeling for the truth of it inside of us. We are cultivating trust. It takes time to build the bridge out of this insanity. So a lot happens internally. Well, everything happens internally, because we are learning how to not be arrogant and righteous about the lies that we have been defending as truth. Then we begin to go through this particular lesson and realize, okay, this lesson offers to us the part that's been assigned to us, without our insisting that what is assigned to each and every one of us by God needs to be different. This is where we really truly say, not my way, not my will, but yours be done. Because here is the thought of true humility. The salvation of the world depends on me, Father, Mother, God. What is my part? What is my part? And then we begin to move inside of us, where we get our guidance, where we get exactly what it is that God wills for us. And of course, when you understand the Course in Miracles and you know that God has given us a purpose, and the purpose is to be happy, then you know that whatever God wills for us is going to feel good. But the process, the bridge that we are crossing between the indoctrination of civilization, of humanity, the indoctrination that keeps us tight and tense and small and condensed, into the liberation that allows us to express ourselves as who we are, where there are no more barriers, no more boundaries. Until we are at that place of total liberation, we are crossing a bridge every day, every second. We are taking a step towards truth, further away from the lies, a step towards God, further away from the ego. And as we do this, it requires humility, because if we have been indoctrinated with lies, then we can't possibly know the truth. If we knew the truth, we wouldn't be operating with a lie. So we have to let ourselves be humbled into understanding the truth. So there are many teachings that are preparing us for that. We have been given teachers for all of civilization's time on this planet, all different civilizations, because there's been many of them, some that we are aware of, some that we're discovering, and some that we probably don't even know about yet, because it's just not time to know about that level of information. But our minds are being prepared to accept how powerful we are, so that we stop playing small. And when we stop playing small, of course it saves the world, because then we get out of the game of victims and bullies. That is why we need to become humble, to understand, why do we feel like a victim when God didn't create us a victim? Why are we a bully and trying to control the world when God created us equal? So there has to be a process of self-awareness that goes through that. Then this particular lesson continues to say that even though we have forgotten our truth, our Father still remembers it for us. And all we need to do is go into stillness, going inside with true humility, to allow the grace of truth to illuminate itself inside of us. Then it says that today we will not shrink from our assignment on the specious grounds that modesty is outraged. Okay, we need to get comfortable with, I want to know the truth, and I'm not going to be modest about it. I am not going to pretend that I am too small, I am too insignificant to hold the truth of God. That's the lie that has had us believe that we're victims. That's the lie that has us operate in false spirituality that says, I know, Jesus is the only son and Jesus is the way, and I got to bow down to Jesus. Course in Miracles is Jesus talking to us saying, listen, we are the same. We are brothers and sisters. And I am not better than you. I'm not higher than you. I am only one step ahead of you because I've already done the work that I'm here to teach you to do. That's all. Very humble. It's like a really good friend, like an older brother or sister helping us see the way, but not because it knows it for us. So we got to get past this fake modesty that the ego likes to use, because it is pride that would deny the call of God himself. Every one of us that moves down this bridge has got to, at some point, let go of our spiritualized ego. That thing. So I know spirituality, and I'm going to tell you that you are not spiritual enough. That is absolutely what has kept so much of the world in bondage. Those who think that they know God, those who think that they have achieved something and are now telling the rest of the people, well, you people don't have it. The whole point of humility is to recognize we all have it. Everybody has it inside of them. But the only way people are going to remember the truth of who they are is by seeing a model of it. So we walk with humility. We walk in a state of total and complete grace, knowing, hey, I know you have the truth inside of you. Do you want me to share it? Yes or no? If you don't want to, it's okay. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to judge your bad behavior, because bad behavior is a thing of the world. I'm going to just stay in the place of knowing that you, just like me, have the Christ in you. Do you remember that or not? It's not up to me to decide when you're supposed to remember it, but I will use discernment while I'm in the world and realize, well, if you're not ready for this, if you're not interested in this, I'm going to leave you alone. I'm going to let you be, because I may not necessarily be the teacher for you, because the student is not ready. When the student is ready, the teacher appears, and I may not be the teacher for you. And I need to get to stay really clear that the only thing that I can possibly teach is that which I have learned. So that in the moment that I show up as a teacher of God is only to be loving, not to judge that you are not loving enough. So this continues to tell us in paragraph 5, there is one way and only one to be released from the imprisonment our plan to prove the false is true has brought to us. This is why we need humility. We cannot possibly talk about the truth when we are in fear, because we're attempting to make the false real. We're attempting to say, yeah, we should be afraid. We are about to be hurt. We are being abused. We should be in fear of the authorities. That is attempting to make truth something that is false. We are not under anybody here. We are not under anybody's authority. We are here only to express God's authority through us, which is what's so exciting. So there's only one way out, and that's to go inside and look at the beliefs that we have been holding as true that are actually false. I'll give you a couple of examples. False, that I'm superior or inferior to anybody else, but we operate it as true. I'm the CEO of the company, so I'm superior to you. False. It is false that Father knows best. We are all equal. So Father and child know equally. Now, they know different things. CEO may know different things than the person who is the cashier of the company, but both are equal and need to be treated equally, need to be acknowledged for what each contributes. It is absolutely false that men are superior to women, but we operate as if it's true. There are some societies that a woman can be put to death, and it's happening. Go to the Middle East. It happens all the time. Put to death for not doing what the man says that they should do. Must wear what the man says that they wear. Cover the face the way the man says that it should be covered. And if you don't do it that way, because something inside of you doesn't want to do it that way, then this external authority gets to dictate your death. all of those things that we've been told. Inside of countries, when you look at governments, when you look at rules and regulations that have been created that give permission to some but not to others, those are false rules because they don't apply equally to everybody. But we operate as if it's true. Oh, well, they have the money so they can get away with it. Says who? We do, because we participate in that insanity. So here, there is only one way and one way out of this insanity, and that's to stop calling the false true. But to be able to do that, you need to begin to understand what is the truth. So now we're going to go to the reading starting in paragraph 6. And again, I am in lesson 186, titled Salvation of the World Depends on Me. That's so key. Nobody's going to save anybody else. The only way that the world is saved is when I find my truth. The world is, you need to understand the word salvation is spared my indignation for defending the false as true. The world is saved because now I see it for what it is. Divine beings who have either been indoctrinated and live with a bushel over their light, or they are the light expressing itself. And how beautiful is that? All right, paragraph number 6. Arrogance makes an image of yourself that is not real. It is this image which quails and retreats in terror as the voice for God assures you that you have strength, the wisdom and the holiness to go beyond all images. This is so important that we understand. And take a second right now and feel, if you can hear these words, and tell me, do you feel something? And you don't actually have to say it to me, say it to yourself in honesty. If you feel some terror, some discomfort when I say this, which is what the Course in Miracles wants us to understand. The voice of God states that who we are is strong, wise, and holy beyond anything that we can imagine. Therefore, you should have no fears. Do you feel terror at the thought that I shouldn't have fears? But I have fears. I have these fears. Does it scare you to realize that you are the creator of your reality, that you have the power to let go of every false belief? If that scares you, to know that you can walk around and be loving, to know that you don't need protection from anything external, you don't need an alarm system on your house, you don't need a lock on the door, you don't need to be worried about money. You can walk around this planet knowing everything would be taken care of, like the lilies of the valley, the birds in the fields. If you are not living that way, and believe me, I still lock my door, so I'm not 100% there yet either. But the goal is to get to that. While we are on the journey, then we use discernment. Live in an area, or it doesn't even matter that it's an area that could be more dangerous. I like locking my door because I like locking my door. It adds a level of recognition. Okay, this is a step to keep anybody further away in a world of people that still believe that harming others is okay. I'm okay with that. Now, I check in to do it out of self-love. I love me enough and I love my family enough to put a barrier between, excuse me, those who may not respect life as I've come to know it, because I am the life. Those who do not respect life, then it's self-love. I'm checking in for fear. Nope, I'm not afraid of death. Okay, fine, lock the door. Can you say that you are walking on this planet, operating in the 3D world, but not of it, because you recognize you are strong because God created you that way. You're eternal. Nothing to fear about that happens to your body. You are wise. You have access to infinite knowledge when you come inside and connect with God, and you are holy. You're not less than anybody else, nor are you better than anybody else. If it creates discomfort to accept the truths of who you are, Those are the beliefs that we need to question. Those are beliefs that are inside of us that say, oh, I'm not that. But notice that it's just a belief. Where did you pick that up? Who taught you that a woman should be less, a man should be more? I picked that up in my Catholic upbringing. I picked that up in my Latin upbringing, where men were revered, and women were just, you're supposed to be either the servant or the toy. So that kind of thinking I had to undo, because it does not allow me to accept the truth of who I am according to God if I'm believing my programming. And that's what ego is programming that blocks truth. So I had to get humble and realize, oh my God, I'm believing a lot of things that are not true. How do you know that this is so? Because you feel the irritation, you feel the discomfort, your body gets tight and tense, and every irritation is an invitation to see our ego's motivation. Our ego's motivated by lies, because that's all it knows. When you stop lying to yourself, you have no ego. Ego dissipates, because ego is just beliefs. So then it goes on to say, you are not weak, as is the image of yourself. The image that we have of ourselves. I'm a Latin person with Catholic upbringing, and I'm supposed to be subservient to men, blah, 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 blah. That is the image I have made of myself that my ego uses, because that's the information, like in your mind is a filing cabinet with all the information that I was given. Now, my grandparents and my mom and aunts and uncles and bosses and government people, there's plenty of people out there, including in religion, who have spoken truth. I don't need to get rid of those beliefs because they resonate in my heart. But I decide if they're my truth or not. I don't use them as an authority out there told me that I have to believe that. But most of what I was taught externally, especially through the media, through television, through movies, through many books, through education system, is not true, is not accurate. I needed to check in. And what do I check it against? I am strong. My strength comes from God. I'm eternal. I don't need to be concerned with the temporary things of this world. I am wise because I have access to all wisdom, because God is within me. I am holy. And so is everybody else. So when I recognize these truths and I apply them to everybody else, then we are all on equal playing ground. Either we remember that or we don't. How can you judge somebody who doesn't remember? Jesus taught us, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. Our work is to be an example of that. And instead of judging people, they feel loved. Wow, you're being so nice to me. You're not judging me for this horrible thing that I might have done. Can you show me the way? Salvation of the world depends on me, because those who are recognizing the way of love are going to want to find out, how did you figure this out? And then we can say, I've been studying the Course of Miracles and practicing what it says. All right. Sentence number 4, paragraph 6. You are not ignorant and helpless. Sin cannot tarnish the truth in you, and misery can come not near the holy home of God. Oh my gosh, sin, A Course in Miracles says, sin is simply missing the mark. Sin is simply making a mistake, wrong thinking. Nobody gets in trouble for sin. Nobody gets in trouble for having a mistake except for your own karma. So if you want to call that trouble. For me, karma, it was a blessing. It was just showing me where I needed to bring about correction. So sin cannot tarnish the truth in you. No amount of lies that you believe in your head, no amount of misperceptions, of mistakes that you've made can tarnish the truth within you. The light of God, once you begin to connect to it, once you begin to accept your holiness, your innocence, your eternalness, your perfection, that you are absolutely complete and there's nothing missing in you. Once you begin to accept the truth of who you are, well, you are moving past the false humility. Oh, well, I'm not as good as Jesus. I'm not as special as the saints. Oh my gosh, we're not here to become saints. We're here to become sane. Sanity is a return to truth. Truth is that we are all the bringers of the love and the light to this planet. Our work is to remind people to how to connect to their light. That's how the world is saved, because we only do evil things to each other when we don't remember our truth, because our mind gets darkened by these beliefs that create obstacles, put blinders, and we don't remember the truth. And then, of course, when we're operating in darkness, that's a frequency. So we attract ourselves to other low frequency beings, and victims and bullies find each other. Just as when you are operating from the light, you're attracted to high frequency beings, and people who love and uplift each other attract. We're attracted to one another for co-creation and expansion of the kingdom. The next paragraph, number 7, says, all this, the voice for God, relates to you. You start listening inside, you will start hearing the gentle reminders. You're beautiful. You're magnificent. It's okay. You're forgiven. It's okay. You can do this. Try again. Oh, see that brother, that sister? Oh, we forgive them. You see that brother, that sister that has fallen, we can uplift them. We extend a hand. We're gentle with them. We come humble. We check arrogance at the door. We let that go. Why? Because this voice for God is inside of us. And all this, that voice relates to us if we're willing to listen. And as he speaks, the image trembles and seeks to attack the threat it does not know, sensing its basis crumble. Let it go. Have you gotten to the place in your journey, those of you that I know you have, where you hear that voice of, yes, I've got this, I can do this, I'm going to be kind to that person who hurt me. And then you hear the voice going, oh no, we're not going to be nice to that person. They deserve, something terrible. We're going to sue them and show them who's boss. Well, that's the voice of the ego that is trembling when you are hearing the voice that says, no, we're going to be kind. No, we're going to do things. We're going to find another way to deal with this. And then that ego goes, absolutely not. I've built an image of myself, and I'm not going to look like I'm a wimp in front of people. And that voice says, I am humble enough to know that what they think about me doesn't matter. I'm not arrogant enough to believe that I'm going to look like a wimp simply because I am aligning with a voice for God. Now, it takes us a while to get comfortable with breaking down the barriers and getting comfortable not caring what people think of us, because freedom, sovereignty is only possible when the outer world does not influence you, good or bad. When you don't need people to build you up, you don't care if people are putting you down, because all of that is a reflection of them. They're speaking from where they're at. If you're grounded in truth, you're neutral. You can't be moved up. You can't be moved down. You are grounded. You are totally, completely in neutral. From that place, you know your truth, and it cannot be shaken. Like that story in the Bible, that parable, you have built your house on a solid foundation of truth. And you can have compassion for those who want to put you up or tear you down. That's about them. And then you just have compassion for them. So we need to let go of this part of ourselves that gets threatened when we hear the voice for God. Salvation of the world depends on you and not upon this little pile of dust. When it says ashes to ashes, dust to dust, we are letting go of the thoughts and beliefs that we picked up along the way. And soon, as we get comfortable with the truth of who we are, we see this is dust. If you stop believing it, it dissipates. The hardest part of the journey, well, two hard parts. One is remembering the truth. The other one is letting go of the lie. But when you get comfortable letting go of the lies, you see, oh, it's just a thought. I mean, it requires really no effort at all. You just stop thinking that thought. Oh, I'm better than. Stop thinking that thought. Dust to dust. I mean, it just goes away. Who taught you that you're better than somebody else? Again, we have to go back to childhood. We have to go back to school. We were always less than the teacher. So we learned hierarchy. We learned up and down. Then we got married and somebody, was in charge. In my case, it was me. I used to wear the pants in the relationship. I learned that from my mother. So my dad was a drunk. He was always drunk. So what mom had to wear the pants. Somebody had to take control of things. So I took control. But I also had in my mind that men are supposed to be superior and women were inferior. So I had a lot of confusion in my mind. And then we go to school and we operate in hierarchy. Then we go to work and we operate in hierarchy. Then the government operates in hierarchy. You know that the government's there, especially here in the US, they're there to represent us. They actually are not higher than we are. Not at all. But we have bought into this story and we fear the government because they get to make the rules. But they're only making the rules because we've allowed ourselves to be ruled. So a lot of correction is going to happen. That's what next year we're birthing ourselves as sovereign, those who are ready for that. Not everybody's going to do it, but that's the opportunity. Is so many are coming together who vibe at that frequency of truth, saying, wait a second. No. We're not going to accept cheating in elections. Nope, we're not going to do that, because if there's cheating in elections, there's cheating in behind the scenes as well. Then whatever this government is doing, there's got to be cheating there. Why would you cheat at elections unless you're covering up something else? So the mind has to get clear that we are worthy to speak our truth and expect to be treated as equals in all areas of life, in the personal relationships, at work, in school, with our government, with our medical practitioners. The doctor doesn't know better. The doctor is supposed to share what the doctor knows. I decide when I come inside, does this resonate or not? And this is only possible when you train your mind to understand kinesiology. When you begin to muscle test, when you begin to know that internally there is the voice for God that always wants to give you the truth, but you have to understand how to practice kinesiology, because you need to know that there is truth in you first and foremost. This is why there is only one way, as it said here in this sentence, there is one way and only one way to be released from the imprisonment of our ego. Because our ego tells us the truth is a lie. So we've been taught, I don't know anything. The spouse does, or the teacher does, or the doctor does, or the government does. That's not true. Everybody knows the truth. We just have not been taught how to feel the truth inside of us. So there's a process, a journey as we cross this bridge of getting in tune with the truth within, of learning how to sense frequency, because truth calibrates pretty high, lies calibrate pretty low. So how can you tell what is true for you? You feel lighter. What is not true for you? You feel tighter. So once you get comfortable with, oh, my body this doesn't feel good, and you pull yourself back, you know it's not for you. When you go, yes, I want that, then you are absolutely operating at a higher frequency. A very simple example, the whole world recently has put out all these shots telling people you've got to take them. And if you say, oh, yes, I absolutely know this is the best thing for me, zero fear in your mind, then that's what you're supposed to do. And you don't care if anybody else does it or not. But if you say, oh, I better take this out of fear, I mean, I'm going to get in trouble if I don't do it, you are actually doing something your body's telling you not to do. The fear, the contraction is the indicator that you're doing something that is not in alignment with you. Light, at ease and at peace, you're in alignment with it. Tight, tense, unease, dis-ease, your body is telling you don't do that. But we've not been, let me say it differently, we've been conditioned to operate from fear. Oh, if I don't do what I'm told, I'm going to be in trouble. Dude, chick, if you do what you're told out of fear, that is the trouble that you're placing yourself in. And of course, that's going to have the karmic consequences. But when you follow your inner guidance and you say no, you don't care what others might want to do, as Jesus did. You can crucify this body vessel because I'm eternal. So if this body vessel has to expire right now because I'm holding fast to allegiance to my inner knowing, well, then that's okay. I'll have another incarnation. That's freedom. That is true freedom and true sovereignty. And I'm not saying that we have to just roll over and just, okay, we know I die, I'll do whatever you tell me to do. I'm at peace inside. But I'm saying if you're at peace inside, use your voice. Why? Because you're the salvation that the world depends on. And that's why I teach. That's why I share what I know, because I want to empower people to remember the truth of who they are. That's why some doctors are speaking up and saying, no, we're not going to be scaring people into doing things that are not best for them. The patient knows best. Always the patient knows best. People are changing the education system, saying teacher doesn't always know best. The student knows. Let's teach everybody from a young age, because they already come with that inner knowing. Let's actually, it's not teaching them. Let's help them stay aligned with what they want and don't want. When a little child, I've got a little grandbaby, when my grandbaby says, I don't want to eat that, the parents, his parents, I mean, it's a beautiful to watch. Don't make them eat it. So this little grandchild gets to pick the vegetables that he likes and doesn't, the fruit that he likes and doesn't, the whatever that he likes and doesn't, the drinks that he likes and doesn't. And it's okay, because he's listening to his inner knowing. So he's going to grow up being reminded that he can use that not just for food and drink, but for everything that is placed before him. Why? Because it's inside of us. A power greater than we are is inside of us that is reminding us of our truth, of our wisdom, of our holiness. And what is not that returns to a pile of dust. It dissipates. Sentence 5, paragraph 7. What can it tell the Holy Son of God? What can ego tell you? Why need he be concerned with it at all? Don't be concerned with the fears that come up. Use them to illuminate your path to healing. Every fear is an invitation to see, where did you pick that up? How that fear limits you, affects you, hurts you. Because what hurts us, we have to experience karma, which means we need to experience the opposite of it to help us correct it, bring us into neutral. If you want to skip learning your lessons the hard way, be open to questioning your beliefs. This means get okay with not knowing anything, meaning stop being righteous. Oh, that was so hard for me. Oh my gosh, I used to be the queen of I know it all. I'm right and everybody else is wrong. And when I had to sit with, well, what if I'm wrong? What if what I'm attempting to tell my kids is the way is wrong? And I began to soften. I began to explore. And you know what? 90% of what I thought was true was wrong. But there was a few things that were good, and I kept those because they felt right. They felt good. And my kids felt fine with it. They didn't resist it. But when my kids were resisting the things that I was trying to tell them, I knew, okay, their inner knowing is teaching me something here. I had to humble myself. Paragraph 8, and so we find our peace. We will accept the function God has given us, for all illusions rest upon the weird belief that we can make another for ourselves. When we stop making other beliefs for ourselves, granted, they're hand-me-down beliefs, so we've got to give them back. When we stop believing those weird beliefs that we were taught, and we begin to rest upon the truth that we are strong, powerful, eternal, that we are wise beyond measure because we've got the wisdom of God inside, just go inside and get it. And we accept our holiness, these three important things, our strength, eternal wisdom within, and holiness. And you know that with humility, oh my gosh, that's where we find our peace, because then we don't need to convince anybody else. They'll figure it out on their own. Once I let my kids have their lessons on their own timing, it was amazing. Parenting got so easy. I thought I had to teach them these things by a certain time, when I realized everybody's on their own schedule. Some of my kids got it faster, some got it slower. Didn't mean one was better than the other. But the school system said, you've got to achieve this by a certain date. The medical system, my pediatrician, by this age, your child should achieve this, that, or the other. Well, not every child achieved it on their schedule. So we had to shift to our own internal sovereign knowing, not what others said. I stopped reading those books about, how to parent children. I threw that away. It was like, no, wait a second. I'm going to go to my intuition. And then when I go to my intuition, I'm going to respect my kids' intuition. And, for a lot of people, I was weird. I was strange to let my kids do what they did. I was just a cuckoo mother that allowed my kids to do drugs, and I wasn't judging them for them because I trusted something's moving you. You got lessons here. It's amazing what happens when you allow yourself to connect with that all-knowing voice for God in you. It's never going to lead you in a painful direction. The only thing that experiences pain inside of us is our ego that doesn't want to stop being in charge of us. So it's like this fake personality that we create that puts on masks for the world to see. So we were acting with this mask on, pretending to be what we're not. Well, it's painful peeling off that mask. It's painful admitting it was a mask and we were not really authentic. That's the pain of the journey. But what gets revealed? Our true self. How can there be pain in being you? There's only pain in the admission to ourselves that we were a fake. But that's where forgiveness comes in. We forgive ourselves because we learned it. We learned from our fake parents to be fake, from the fake media to be fake. We learned it from the fake government to be fake. They're fake when they think that they have power over us. That's fake. That's made up. That's not true. But if we cower to their power, then we just said, oh, okay, yeah, I'll cower. I'll be a fake victim to your fake bully. 2023 is the year of dropping the fakeness because that it is fake is being exposed. How do we see that? If you ever watched the movie The Wizard of Oz, the end, I forget what it was called, the wizard. Well, we're pulling the curtain of the wizard. We're watching all of the treachery that has happened where people have been abusing their power. That's how you find out fakery, abuse of power. When you see that it is those who say that they have the most power that have actually been using their power to keep humanity divided, to create specialness for these, but not for these, to blackmail people into behaviors that otherwise they wouldn't do, but because they're scared, they don't want to lose their positions of power. So they'll do things that goes against their own inner knowing, but because they don't come inside. To use kinesiology, they don't know that when they're scared, they shouldn't do it. But they do it when they're scared because they don't understand that there's another way. All these things are being revealed because we have all been complicit in co-creating a 3D world of insanity. So as you find the way and you are the truth and you embody the love that you really are, then we can say, wow, they didn't know what they were doing. We forgive all these people because it is forgiveness that is going to give them permission to say, wow, I want what you're having. I like the peace that you experience. And so will you find peace when you do the one thing and the only thing that we can possibly do to save ourselves. And that is to find the truth of who we are as God created it, not as the ego made it up, but as God created it. So the salvation of the world depends on us finding our truth, because when we find our truth, we shine the light. We show the way. We don't take from other people. We don't blackmail anybody else. Our relationships become transparent. What you see is what you get. No more manipulation. No more conniving. All of that goes away when you become authentic. Yeah, the mask of inauthenticity is hard. It's a hard pill to swallow. But man, when you take it off and you begin to see, well, those who needed the fakery, they do drop away. And sometimes they're relatives. It creates space for those who connect with your authentic self, because their authentic selves, misery loves company, ego loves company, and Holy Spirit loves company as well. So when we connect in the light, we then become stronger. And that is how this world is changing, because so many who are shining their light are infiltrating all aspects of the world. Every single area has people waking up, exposing every single area that has had darkness ruling it. Amazing. Our self-made roles are shifting, and they seem to change from mourner to ecstatic bliss of love and loving. We can laugh or weep and greet the day with welcome or with tears. Our very being seems to change as we experience 1,000 shifts in mood, and our emotions raise us high indeed or dash us to the ground in hopelessness. This is the work. Are you on a high because you've connected to truth? Well, that's going to happen to show us the contrast of the lows when we are listening to the ego. For a while, there are many things that we get high on that are actually not good for us. Many people go to the highs and bliss of because they do drugs, or they get drunk, or they get accolades, or they get a promotion, or they get a diamond ring and an engagement, or they achieve a status. But inevitably that has to drop. So to sustain the high of the bliss that is God's truth is to raise your consciousness and acknowledge who you are, own your power. From that place, you're actually neutral. There's no higher than bliss. You're there. You achieve the knowingness of who you are, and so is everybody else. Therefore, you can't drop. Once you build your house on solid ground, you firm yourself in the truth and you don't deviate from it. The trick is that the truth for you is the truth for everybody else. This is what is being exposed in the corruption of the world, is that in the corruption of the world, egos believe that they deserve better than others. That's why we have the 1% with all the money and the 99% without as much. This is why we have so many that are fed and millions, billions that are hungry. If we knew the truth of who we are, that would not be acceptable at all. Nobody would want to hold on to more when they knowingly see those who do not have enough. That's what happens when we go to that place of equality. We want to serve for the greater good of all. The salvation of the world depends on us. And in many cases, it includes saving the children. It includes making sure that every single child, because they're the bringers of love and light, we enter as a child, that every single child is raised in an environment that it reminds them of their light, so that they are never, ever, ever in a situation where somebody attempts to block their light, to cover the light, and think that that's okay. So it's going to take a couple of generations to raise these children to know who they are, hold their light, and operate at a level of frequency, operate at a level of integrity, that generation after generation, they have children and do the same. See, we have been operating in generations that taught us that we're not the light, and we have been descending little by little into scared little people, easily controllable by those who tell us that they have power because they say we voted for them. But did we really vote for them? Or were they somehow selected? All of these things are coming to light because there is a fakery that has been created by the ego that we must face and say, yep, I participated in that, but no more. And the way we participate no more in the fakery is to become our authentic selves. And how do you know your authentic self? You better accept how God created you. Powerful, strong, wise, and holy. That's the transmission for today. Thank you so much for being part of this. And of course, if you want to see all the other transmissions, I don't remember the number for this one, we're in the 80s. You can go to my YouTube channel, Laina Orlando, and find all of the Ascension with A Course in Miracles classes, except for one that YouTube banned because I was talking about the medical establishment about a year or so ago, and they didn't like that. Because I'm here to only speak the truth that comes through me. And well, I'm not afraid of being censored and being banned for speaking truth. So you won't find that one video there because I didn't even have a copy. So once it was taken down, it was taken down. But the rest are there. You can also go to my website and lainaorlando.com and can have access to that as well through there. Did anybody receive a nugget? Unmute yourself and please share if you got a nugget from today's transmission. And if you like this, share it with others and help me grow the community that gets to hear the truths that set us free. So just unmute yourself if you want to share a nugget. And if not, it is perfectly okay. That is not necessary. We let it be how it is.
My takeaway for today is to be, and I know that, but to be more tolerant and just understand where people don't know what I know and they're not coming from where I'm coming, and just be tolerant.
Yes. That is so beautiful. Thank you for saying that. And we don't know where they're coming from. And tolerance is an equalizer. It's a truth in our mind that says, I don't know where you're at. And that moves us out of arrogance. And it says, but I also don't know not only where you're at, but I don't know how to fix you. I don't know how to do anything better. It comes from humility. So thank you, sister. I'm so glad that you received that. Yes, we know it, but we have to practice it. Isn't that the way of all of this beautiful work that we're doing? We get to practice it. Anybody else?
Laina, I would like to also make my note. For me, it was every time I hear the message, like, not to apologize for what I am, like, not to apologize for what I want, because if it's really, and again, every time I'm checking with the voice of ego, honestly, like, so, okay, I'm doing this because this is true me shining through, or because of the concept and society. And when I'm checking this part and I feel that this is my personal need, this is my soul desire, I'm like, no, that's what I want to do. I'm going to do that. And voila.
I love that. But that is part of self-love. Beginning to love ourselves enough to own our voice, to honor our voice. We cannot come to accept God within us and recognize that power fully, humbly, until we practice loving ourselves enough to trust what we're feeling, what we're sensing. That's part of the training to understand kinesiology. And many people don't even know that that's what they're doing, but to honor what is inside and to come to the place that we are doing it for ourselves, not for anybody else, is actually an act of self-love. People think, oh, you're being selfish. They can think whatever they want. We must come inside and honor what feels right inside. That's part of the training of resensitizing ourselves to reverse how we were desensitized as children.
Yes. And with that, I feel like I'm developing courage.
Yes.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Little tiny things, but it takes a courage and bravery to say sometimes what I want and what I think and what I need. That's unbelievable. It shouldn't be on the fields, of the war, or it shouldn't be like, you don't need to save somebody from the burning house. It's just like, sometimes, can you pass me that, plate all over the table?
Yeah. Yes. Well, I'm so glad I got to hear your voice. Now I know who iPhone 4 is.
Oh, okay. It's Julia.
Julia. Yes, absolutely. Could tell the minute you started speaking. Well, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for joining. And so every Wednesday, just about every Wednesday, rarely, but on occasion, we can't do them. Either I'm traveling or it's a holiday or whatever. But share this with others and invite others to just come and receive a little spiritual adjustment, a middle of the week spiritual adjustment, and a reminder of really the truth of who we are. We are holy. We are powerful. We are strong. We are wise beyond measure. And to access all of that, we just got to let go of that which is false. But to let go of the false, we need to contrast it with the truth. So it's a journey. It's a total journey. Yes, we gain our courage as we give up our fears, and it's a one step at a time. So thank you for being here with me. I will put this recording on my Facebook probably in a day or two. So if you like this message, share with others. And love you all so much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Of course.